Hi guys, it's Ray here from Man City Fan TV. Another update for you today. We'll be talking about Kevin Keegan and his new book that was out this week. We'll also talk about City's fears for the Wembley pitch, Phil Foden's call up to the under-21s, and the news that City are taking even more precautions before their bus trip to Liverpool. So Kevin Keegan's got a book out this week, and as you'd expect, he's got something to say about his time at City. He was our manager at the turn of the century for 4 years, from 2001 to 2005, and he took us to the First Division title, and he kept us in the Premier League. Now, he left City, and he says it was due to a lack of ambition from the club, and they had basically differences of opinion, and he felt he had to move on. After winning promotion from the First Division, he had a lot of ambition. He wanted the club to go places, and I think he felt we were a bit too cautious. And here's what he had to say. The expectation level had to go up. I knew what was possible. I had done it before at Newcastle, and I desperately wanted to think we could fasten our seatbelts for the same kind of adventures. He says the club adopted a more cautious approach and didn't want to spend too much money in case it didn't work out and potentially plunge the club into trouble. And I think it was a soured relationship between Kevin and the chairman, John Bernstein, that led to his departure. And yeah, you never know what could have been. I mean, it was quite exciting times when Kevin was at City. I mean, it's very similar to what it was like at Newcastle. You know, whatever you score, we're going to score more goals than you. And yeah, I think in the First Division we scored over 100 goals. I think it was something like 108 goals. And it was some good times. And yeah, as I said, you don't know where it could have gone. You don't know what could have happened if we'd taken the risk. I mean, it could have imploded like it did at Leeds. It could have gone amazingly well. But whatever, you know, it would have changed the course of our history. And so you can look back and say all these little things that change the direction of where your club's going. You know, if we had the money invested, if we'd done a little bit better at the time, maybe we wouldn't have got Sheikh Mansour involved in the club. Maybe he would have gone to Everton or Newcastle, and we'd still be knocking around the top 10 and, you know, well away from the chance of winning a title probably. But you know, we are where we are, and I think most City fans from around that time that I speak to, they still like Kevin. You know, still got a little space for him in their hearts, and it says something of the man that no City manager since Kevin has lasted 4 years. Moving on to Spurs and the ongoing Wembley pitch fiasco. Well, you might have seen the game against Barcelona in the Champions League. And I just want to say Messi, he's got to be the best footballer I've ever seen in my life. I'm old enough to remember Maradona. I don't think I watched him live, but obviously I went through his era, watching him on TV, World Cups and some Serie A. And I really do believe Messi is the best player I've ever seen in my life. He's just unbelievable, and I don't think we'll see a talent like him again. But as you were watching that game, you saw a lot of it looked like dry and yellow patches on the pitch. And I think Pochettino after the game said, well, it was the same for both teams. But it's a bit of a worry, and I think City are worried as well as everybody who have got to play Spurs, because that Wembley pitch has taken a bit of a battering recently. There was a boxing match not too long ago, and apparently the pitch needs about 10 days for the grass. It's a mixture of grass and artificial stuff to recover, and they're just not getting a chance to recover. They got, I think, Cardiff this weekend, and there's 3 NFL games coming up on, I believe, the 14th, 21st, and 28th. So I really can't see that pitch recovering before our visit on the 29th of October. So terrible, terrible, terrible. It just doesn't get any better, and it's got to be a worry for City. As I said, as well as other clubs going there to play. Obviously, because of that, you might have heard recently, the last few days, that the Carabao Cup game against Fulham is put back to the Thursday. It's only natural. We're playing on a Monday. We can't play Tuesday or Wednesday, the normal Carabao Cup dates. And then the Southampton game at the weekend is going to be put back till, I think, the Sunday. Once again, you can't have just 2 days between games. And I'll repeat, I'll say it as many times as this problem keeps rearing its head. It's disgusting what Spurs have done. No regard, and the Premier League as well, because there's no regard for the City fans who have bought tickets, like plane tickets, railway, train tickets, booked hotels, expecting the game to be on Saturday, because that's when they were told it was going to be on Saturday at 3 p.m. I was listening to reading on Twitter, some fans coming up from Ireland. I think there's 4 of them coming from Galway. And they booked their tickets to fly, I think, on Friday. Matches on Saturday. They got the hotel booked and everything. And now the game's going to be on Sunday. So it's absolute mess. And no one's going to refund them. You know, the best they can hope for is that City, at the goodness of their hearts, try and help them out. But this Spurs cock-up, it's just running on and on and on. We've already had the problem with the original game on the 29th. That's going to affect fans who have already booked tickets for hotels and planes and trains and coaches and whatever. And fortunately for most of that, apart from the planes, I believe City are going to cover the costs. But for anything subsequent to that, the Southampton game, no, I'm sorry, there's right now no one's seems remotely interested. I think City might be a little bit interested. Spurs, not bothered. PL, Premier League, can't be bothered. It's disgusting. It's diabolical. I really wish someone sues the Premier League and Spurs, or one of them, or both of them, or you get a collective, get people together and they sue en masse, because it's happening is ridiculous. It's wrong. It's unfair. The Premier League shouldn't just let it go. They should be stamping down on it. And I've said many times, fine Spurs, dock 'em points. Fine them for not having the pitch ready, and every single game that it's not ready, fine them 5 million. Let's see what they do then. Make them pay the costs of the non-refundable costs that City fans and other fans have incurred. And every single game that this affects, make Spurs pay. Fine them every single time. And their greed, they won't put greed in front of everything next time. Absolutely disgusting. And I really hope something is done, but I'm sorry, the Premier League, can you see them doing anything? I can't. Absolutely terrible situation. Moving on, Phil Foden. He's been included in Eddie Boothroyd's under-21 England squad. He's been called up for a couple of games. And fantastic for Phil. He's only 18 years old, been called up to the under-21s. And I've heard some people, have written on Twitter, look at Jadon Sancho. He's the same sort of age. He left City to go to Dortmund, then he's been called into the first team squad. And they say, well, he made the right decision. Don't really know. I mean, in the short term, you can say, yeah, Sancho's reaping the rewards of his move to Dortmund, and he's had a good start with them this season, coming off the bench a lot, I believe, and providing plenty of assists. I think he started both their Champions League games, if I read correctly yesterday. So you can't deny it. The guy's got talent. It's a shame he felt he had to leave City, and whether it's a right or wrong move, I don't think you can just judge that in the short term. I think over the next 2 or 3 years, we'll find out whether it's the right decision or not. Right now, it looks like a decent decision for the kid. But City couldn't do much more. They'd offered him the contract and he refused it. And then he wouldn't answer their call. So it was a situation that would have just got worse. And there was no real solution, I do believe, for City. I think they could have kept him for another season because he still had 12 months left on his contract. But that would have been a bit harsh on the kid as well. And player power. And they ended up letting him go. So whether... I think Phil probably wasn't far off the first team squad call up. He was probably 2 or 3 starts away from that. I think if he could have, and I think that's what he's got to do to progress now. He's either got to absolutely shine for the under-21s in the couple of games that we've got, or he's got to start getting a few starts and longer sub appearances at City, and show what he's got, show the quality he's got. And fingers crossed, he's got plenty of time. There's no rush. He's only 18 years old. If he can get into the England squad by the time he's 19, that's still fantastic. And hopefully in a position to help us out at the next Euro. So that's what I'd be looking for. I'd not be looking and crying that he's not in the squad right now. He's got plenty of time ahead of him. He's got a good 15, maybe even 16 years ahead of him. And lastly, we'll just mention Busquets again. And that's the attack on City's bus last year. And looks like City are going to do Merseyside Police's job a little bit for them. Apparently, we're installing thousands of pounds worth of spy cameras. Lots of cameras are going to be installed inside the city bus, as well as, I'm sure, other measures. But these cameras are there to catch any reoccurrence of the disgusting and diabolical behaviour we saw from some Liverpool fans, those vicious thugs throwing bottles and cans and rocks and flares and whatever at the city bus at the Champions League game last season. And come on, Merseyside Police, they had one job, only one job. They had so many men available, so many men there, and they couldn't even do that one job. And it's a shame that City have to take these measures themselves and keep the bus route secret, because you should be able to rely on the police to do their job. And if they can't, I mean, what hope is there for any of us? Guys, if you haven't subscribed, just click below the red button and you'll subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of future videos. And yeah, let's see what happens this weekend. A lot coming up hopefully over the weekend with previews with the Liverpool fan channel. And it's going to be an exciting time this weekend. So fingers crossed we have a great game. And yeah, get in touch with us. Keep commenting in the YouTube videos or on Twitter. We'd love to get your comments and we'd love to reply and engage in a decent, meaningful debate. There's no point abusing us because it doesn't get any of us anywhere, and we're more than willing to get involved in decent conversation. See you around, Blues.